Hello there. Thank you for taking a moment to watch this video, and on this specific training, I want to talk to you about inbound call tracking. For those of you who've purchased phone numbers from PhoneBurner, obviously you've been receiving some inbound phone calls. And for the longest time, we've been tracking all of that inbound call activity on the activity feed within the contact records in your PhoneBurner account. So here you can see one of my sample contacts. You can see this contact left me a voicemail, they've called me, and then of course I've made some phone calls to this contact using PhoneBurner. And all of this activity is tracked within that contact record. And for the longest time, there's only been a couple ways that you can view this call activity outside of the contact record. One of those options was the vPhone tab. Now, of course, this tab is only available for our premium customers where you have full access to all of the vPhone settings. But here you're able to view your call history. And if you're a team admin, you're able to see not only your call history, but your team's call history. But the biggest problem with this is it's just a big running list. You just see all of the activity, and you're just scrolling through pages of activity. And so there's another option for teams, and that is with custom reporting. So let's jump over to the Team tab. From the Team tab, we're going to go to Reports, and we're going to go to the Member Detail Report. This is a custom report that I've created, and in this custom report, I've added a field called Inbound Calls. The Inbound Calls field allows me to see how many calls each of my reps have had routed to them through the PhoneBurner system. And of course, I'm able to view this by rep and with specific date range. Let's switch that to today. Here you can see Jeff Osnes has 4 inbound calls. And from here, I can click on that 4. And from here, I can see the specific contacts and calls that have been routed to that specific user. However, this didn't tell the full story, right? We don't know what the outcome of those calls were. And for some of you, you've been taking advantage of the update to the system that allows you to take inbound calls in the dial session. Let me show you what that looks like for those of you who haven't seen it. So here, if I'm in a dial session, making calls outside of call or whatever that might be, I can actually accept inbound calls in the dial session window, have my call the way I would any other phone call in a dial session. I can end that call when I'm done talking to them. And once I end that call, I'm left with a set of dispositions where I can set the outcome of the call. So let's say I talk to this contact and it's the wrong person. So I click the wrong person button and I'm off to continue doing my dial session as I would any other outbound dial session. Now let's go ahead and move this off the screen. And of course, we'll go back in our report and you'll see that we have a new inbound call activity. If I click on that 5, we'll see it's the same prospect, different time. But again, I still don't know exactly what that outcome was. So now let's go back and let me show you here under calls. You'll notice that we've actually updated this so any inbound calls will actually be reported on with your total calls by rep. So here you can see my inbound prospect when they called in. That call activity is now tracked like any of my outbound dial session calls, and I can see what the disposition was. What was the outcome of that call? Now, of course, that helps our team admins, but what about our individual users and individual customers? Don't worry, we didn't leave you out. Let's scroll up to the top and I'm going to go to my Call History tab. From the Call History tab, in the recent dial sessions, each day, as long as you're receiving inbound calls that day, we will create a dial session used to capture all of this data. So if I scroll over here and click on the details, you'll see I'm able to pull up a dial session summary of all of the inbound call activity that I received for that day. Now, of course, we were just looking at recent dial sessions, which only shows you what, 5 or 6 of your most recent dial sessions? What if you're doing 20 dial sessions a day? Or maybe you want to view all of your dial sessions for the past month. Of course, you can go into your full call history, choose any date range, and in here you'll see all of your inbound dial session summaries are accessible here. And from here, you can go ahead and click on Details to dig into the specific details of any inbound dial session to see who called you that day and what the call outcomes were for each of those calls. And this is just one more thing that we at PhoneBurner are doing to help you and your team get more done in less time using the power of PhoneBurner. Thanks again and happy dialing.